Most gardeners plant whatever looks exciting at the nursery that week. A few tomatoes, maybe some flowers, something that caught their eye. And every season, they end up wishing they'd planted something else instead. Here's what experienced gardeners actually do differently. They don't chase trends. They build their garden around a core list: vegetables that perform reliably, store well, and give back far more than they ask for. These are the plants that earn a permanent spot year after year, regardless of what else comes and goes. 12 vegetables belong on that list. If you're only going to commit to a handful of crops this year, these are the ones. Number 3 is one of the most productive vegetables you can grow in a tiny footprint. A single trellised row can outproduce an entire bed of most other crops. Number 8 will still be feeding you months after the plant itself is gone, sitting quietly in storage through the coldest part of winter. 12 vegetables, one list. Let's go through why each one earns its place.
Number 1. Tomatoes. Nothing on this list is more essential. A homegrown tomato tastes nothing like the grocery store version. Sweeter, juicier, actually tastes like something. Give them full sun, at least 6 hours a day, rich, well-draining soil, and consistent watering, especially once fruit starts forming. Here's the part most people get wrong about blossom end rot, those black, sunken spots on the bottom of the fruit. It's not just watering. It's actually a calcium deficiency inside the fruit itself, and uneven watering makes it worse because the plant can't move calcium properly when moisture swings from dry to soaked and back again. Keep moisture steady, and most of the problem disappears on its own. Stake or cage plants early, before they get too big to handle safely. Indeterminate varieties keep growing and producing all season. Determinate varieties give you one larger harvest at once. Watch for hornworms, thick green caterpillars that can strip a plant of leaves in days. Check the undersides of leaves weekly and hand-pick them off if you spot the telltale chewed edges or dark droppings. Pinch off suckers on indeterminate types, the small shoots growing between the main stem and branches, to keep the plant's energy focused on fruit instead of extra foliage. One healthy tomato plant can produce for months, which is exactly why it's the first non-negotiable on this list.
Number 2, zucchini. Nobody plants zucchini expecting a shortage. This is the vegetable famous for producing too much, not too little. 1 or 2 plants is usually enough for an entire household. Give it full sun and rich soil, and it grows fast, almost without effort. Harvest young, 6 to 8 inches long. Left too long, zucchini turns woody and seedy inside, losing the tender texture that makes it worth growing in the first place. Check plants daily once they start producing. A zucchini can double in size in 24 hours, and skipping even one day can mean finding one the size of a baseball bat hiding under the leaves. Powdery mildew, white dusty patches on the leaves, is the main issue to watch for. Good airflow and watering at the soil level instead of overhead go a long way toward preventing it. Zucchini flowers are edible too, stuffed and fried into a dish most gardeners never try, simply because they never grow their own. Few plants turn this little effort into this much food, and that alone earns zucchini its spot.
Number 3. Green beans. This is the vegetable most people underplant, and it's the one built for tight spaces. Pole beans grow straight up a trellis instead of sprawling outward, which means a single narrow row can outproduce an entire flat bed of most other crops. Bush beans are compact and produce over a shorter window. Pole beans need that trellis but keep producing for months, climbing higher as the season goes on. Direct sow seeds after the soil has warmed. Beans are sensitive to cold and will rot in soil that's still cool from spring. Harvest often. Beans left on the vine too long turn tough and stringy, and picking regularly actually signals the plant to keep producing more instead of slowing down.
Beans also fix nitrogen in the soil, meaning they improve the ground they grow in for whatever you plant there next. Give pole varieties something sturdy to climb. A simple trellis or teepee works fine. In a small yard or a single raised bed, this is the crop that gives you the most food per square foot on the entire list.
Number 4. Peppers. Peppers are slow starters, but incredibly rewarding once established. Start seeds indoors early, since they need warmth and a long season to really produce. Full sun is non-negotiable here. Peppers grown in partial shade stay small and produce far less fruit than plants given a full day of light. Patience matters with color. A green bell pepper left on the plant longer will eventually turn red, yellow, or orange, and the flavor sweetens noticeably as it ripens further. Hot peppers intensify with time, too. A jalapeno left longer on the plant gets noticeably spicier than one picked early and green. Consistent watering prevents blossom drop, where flowers fall off before ever forming fruit, usually a stress response to drought or extreme heat. Here's a trick worth knowing. Peppers are actually perennial in their native climate. If you grow them in containers, you can dig up the pot before first frost and bring it indoors near a sunny window, keeping the plant alive through winter to get a head start next spring, instead of starting from seed all over again. Peppers reward the gardener willing to wait, and that patience is exactly what earns them a permanent spot.
Number 5. Onions. Onions are quiet, low maintenance, and used in more meals than almost anything else you'll grow. Plant sets, small, immature bulbs, in early spring, about 4 to 6 weeks before your last expected frost date. Grow from sets rather than seed if you want a faster, more reliable start. Space them properly, about 4 to 6 inches apart, since crowded onions stay small and underdeveloped. Onions need consistent moisture early on, then less as the bulb matures. Stop watering once the tops start falling over naturally, a clear sign the plant is finishing up. Harvest once most of the tops have yellowed and fallen over. Pulling too early gives you a smaller bulb that won't store nearly as long. Cure onions after harvest by laying them out somewhere dry and well ventilated for a couple of weeks. This toughens the outer skin and extends shelf life significantly. Properly cured onions can last months in a cool, dark space, making them one of the best returns for effort in the entire garden.
Number 6. Potatoes. Potatoes are one of the most satisfying vegetables to grow, simply because harvesting feels like digging for buried treasure. Plant seed potatoes, not grocery store potatoes, which are often treated to prevent sprouting. Do this in early spring, about 2 to 3 weeks before your last frost date, once soil can be worked. Cut larger seed potatoes into pieces, each with at least one eye, and let the cut sides dry for a day before planting to prevent rot. Hill soil up around the growing stems as the plant gets taller. This encourages more tubers to form and protects developing potatoes from sunlight, which turns them green and slightly toxic. Consistent watering matters most during tuber formation. Inconsistent moisture leads to oddly shaped or hollow potatoes underground. Harvest new potatoes early for a tender, thin-skinned treat, or wait until the plant dies back completely for a full harvest of mature, storage-ready tubers. Cure potatoes in a cool, dark, well-ventilated space for about 2 weeks after harvest. Properly stored, they can last for months, which is why potatoes earn their place on this list.
Number 7. Cucumbers. Cucumbers grow fast and reward a trellis more than almost anything else on this list, saving space while keeping the fruit straighter and cleaner. Give them full sun and consistent water. Inconsistent watering is the main cause of bitter taste in cucumbers, a stress response the plant has to uneven moisture. Harvest often and harvest young. A cucumber left too long turns yellow, seedy, and bitter, while frequent picking keeps the vine producing steadily. Powdery mildew is a common late-season issue here too. Good airflow, Proper spacing and watering at the base instead of overhead all help prevent it. Pickling varieties and slicing varieties serve different purposes. Growing both gives you fresh eating cucumbers and a batch ready for preserving at the same time. 1 or 2 healthy vines can produce far more than most households expect, and that reliability is exactly why cucumbers belong here.
Number 8. Winter squash. This is the vegetable that keeps feeding you long after the garden has gone quiet for the season. Butternut, acorn, and delicata all store for months without any special equipment, which is exactly the payoff promised at the start of this list. Give winter squash plenty of space. Vines sprawl aggressively, and crowding them leads to poor airflow and smaller fruit. Watch for squash vine borers, a pest that tunnels into the base of the stem and can kill a plant seemingly overnight. Checking the base of the stem regularly for small holes or sawdust-like frass can catch an infestation before it spreads. Harvest once the skin is hard enough that a fingernail can't easily puncture it. Leave a couple inches of stem attached, since a squash without its stem rots far faster in storage. Cure squash in a warm, dry spot for about a week or 2 after harvest. This toughens the skin further and improves both flavor and shelf life. Properly cured winter squash can last 3 to 6 months in a cool, dark space, quietly turning sweeter the longer it sits. Few vegetables offer this kind of long-term food security from a single planting.
Number 9. Herbs. Basil, rosemary, and thyme form a small cluster that belongs in every garden regardless of how much space is available. Basil is fast and prolific, but sensitive to cold. Pinch off flower buds as they form to keep the plant producing tender leaves instead of going to seed. Rosemary and thyme are the opposite, slow-growing but incredibly hardy, often surviving through winter in many climates with almost no attention once established. All 3 do well in containers, making them ideal even for gardeners without much dedicated bed space. Harvest herbs regularly rather than all at once. Frequent light harvesting encourages bushier, more productive growth over the season. Dried or frozen, herbs extend their usefulness well beyond the growing season, giving you flavor long after the plants themselves have finished for the year.
Number 10. Carrots. Carrots reward patience with a sweetness store-bought versions rarely match. Loose, well-drained soil is essential for straight, evenly formed roots. Avoid fresh manure or heavily compacted soil, both of which cause forked or stunted roots. Deep, sandy loam gives carrots the room they need to grow properly. Consistent moisture matters most during germination, which can be slow and uneven if the top layer of soil dries out too quickly. Thin seedlings early. Crowded carrots compete for space underground and rarely size up properly if left too close together. Harvest once the shoulders are visible at the soil surface and reach the expected size for your variety. Leaving them too long causes the texture to turn woody. Carrots also store well, especially in a cool, humid space, holding their quality for weeks or even months after harvest.
Number 11. Lettuce and salad greens. Few crops offer a faster, more continuous return than a simple salad greens patch, ready in weeks, not months. Succession planting is the key here. Sow a small patch every couple weeks rather than one large planting, giving you a steady, staggered harvest instead of a single overwhelming one. Heat causes bolting, where the plant sends up a flower stalk and turns bitter. Afternoon shade during warmer months helps extend the harvest window significantly. Harvest outer leaves rather than pulling the whole plant, producing new growth for weeks from the same root system. Salad greens also do exceptionally well in containers, making them one of the most accessible crops for gardeners with limited space. That constant, low-effort return is exactly why they've earned a permanent spot in every garden, big or small.
Number 12. Garlic.
Garlic closes this list because it teaches a lesson every gardener eventually learns. Some of the best crops require planning a full season ahead. Plant clothes in fall, typically October in most regions, for a harvest the following summer. This isn't a quick crop, but it's one of the lowest maintenance vegetables you can grow once it's in the ground. Use seed garlic rather than grocery store bulbs, which are often treated to prevent sprouting and may not perform reliably once planted. Mulch heavily through winter to protect the cloves, then step back and let the plant do its slow work through the cold months. Harvest once the lower leaves have started to brown, then cure the bulbs in a dry, well-ventilated space for a couple of weeks before storing. Properly cured garlic can last many months, often long enough to carry you right up to the next planting season.
That's the list. 12 vegetables, not trendy, not complicated, just genuinely worth the space in your garden every single year. Which one are you missing from your own garden right now? Drop it in the comments and let me know what you'd add to this list yourself.